Hi everyone and welcome back. Do you owe a general duty of care to other people? If so, what's the extent of that duty? For example, if you're driving a car, do you owe a responsibility to the passengers, the pedestrians and the other drivers? Where does your responsibility begin? And more importantly, where does your responsibility end? The answer to this question is found in an area of law that is called tort law, or the law of delicts as it's known in some countries. Today let's talk about what tort law is and why it's important to us in our day-to-day lives. Let's get started. First, let's define what a tort or delict is. A tort is a civil wrongdoing which causes harm or injury to another person or their property. Tort law is the branch of law that deals with such wrongful acts and provides legal remedies to the victims. Tort law covers a wide range of situations. For instance, it includes things that are caused by another person's negligence, like negligent car accidents, or medical negligence, or negligent statements, or even someone slipping and falling due to another person's negligence. It also encompasses intentional torts like assault, trespassing, and even defamation. Now let's look at the key elements that make up tort law. Firstly, there must be a duty of care owed by one person to another. This means individuals and entities may have a legal obligation to act in a way that does not cause harm to people in their vicinity or people that they interact with. For example, a driver of a vehicle will owe a duty to operate their vehicle in a way that does not harm their passengers, the pedestrians, other motorists, and even onlookers. Similarly, doctors will owe a duty to their patients, employers will owe a duty to their employees, and lawyers will owe a duty to their clients, etc. The second element is that the duty that was owed must be breached. If a person or entity fails to fulfill their duty of care, this will be considered a breach of that duty. This breach can result from negligence or intentional acts. Breach is a crucial factor in determining liability in tort cases. For example, a doctor owes a duty to treat a patient with care as a competent doctor would. But if the doctor fails to act as a reasonable doctor would in such a situation, he or she would be in breach of their duty. Thirdly, in order to establish liability, there must be a causal link between the breach caused by the defendant and the harm suffered by the plaintiff. In other words, the plaintiff must prove that it was the defendant's actions that caused the harm or the damage to the plaintiff. Using the same example of the doctor being in breach of his duty, the patient must prove that the damage that they suffered was caused by the doctor's breach. Fourthly and finally, there must be damage caused by the plaintiff, because tort law seeks to compensate the victim for the damages that they have suffered. These compensations, known as damages, can be in the form of financial compensation for medical expenses, loss of income, pain and suffering, psychiatric damage, or property damage. Now that we understand the basic elements of tort law, let's look at some of the common types of torts. The most common type of tort is negligence itself. This occurs when one person fails to exercise reasonable care, causing harm to another person. Examples include car accidents caused by distracted driving or a slip and a fall due to a hazardous condition. Negligence can also be in the form of professional negligence caused by a person in their professional capacity as a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, an architect, etc. It can also include negligent acts caused by occupiers towards people they invite into their houses. For example, if you invite someone into your house, you have a duty to ensure that they do not suffer any injury due to the conditions of your house. Negligence can also extend to acts of nuisance committed by one person towards another person or the public at large. For instance, if your neighbor constantly plays loud music in their house so that you cannot go to sleep every day, that may be a nuisance and your neighbor may be in breach of his duty. Then there is also a category called intentional torts. Intentional torts are wrongful acts committed on purpose as opposed to committed negligently. This includes assault, battery, false imprisonment, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. In these cases, the defendant's intent to cause harm is the key factor. One of the most important types of intentional torts is defamation. Defamation arises when one person makes an untrue statement about another person which damages their goodwill and reputation. This damaging of the goodwill and reputation by making false statements can arise in various ways, and in today's day and age, this can most popularly happen through social media. Finally, if you are the victim of a tort, then it's important to understand the remedies that are available to you. The most common remedy available in tort law is compensatory damages. Damages seek to make the victim whole again by providing them financial compensation for their losses. This includes damages for medical expenses, property damage, lost wages, and even pain and suffering. In addition to this, some countries also allow punitive damages. These damages are meant to punish the defendant and deter this kind of behavior in the future. And in some instances, the courts might even grant injunctive relief, which are orders granted against the defendant, preventing them from engaging in certain actions. For example, in a nuisance case, the courts might grant an injunction against your neighbor not to play loud music if him constantly playing loud music is deemed to be a nuisance to your enjoyment of your land. And these are the fundamentals of tort law in a nutshell. Anyway, that's it for this episode. Thank you for tuning in, and please do consider subscribing to the channel if you enjoyed this content. I'll see you in another episode. Take care. Bye.